we spend about £1 billion on health research per annum as a department, and we commission that through something called the National Institute for Health. Now, put that into context, science R&D in this country is worth about £16 billion. Medical research is worth about £8.2 billion. Okay? So you then work out that actually from a government perspective, we spend quite a lot of money on that. The industry, in terms of the pharma industry and the biotech industry, spend about £5 billion. That's inward investment to the UK. And then on top of that, you've got the third sector, and they take up the majority of the rest of it. One of our jobs is to make sure the research infrastructure works well, efficiently, and actually delivers. Pop quiz, how many years to get a concept from science on the bench right the way through to delivery in use in the NHS? Does anybody know? Have a guess. 10 years? 6? You know the answer. It's 17 years. 17 years, okay? And that costs $1 billion to do one drug development process. And that is a lot of money. And what we need to do is shorten that time span, make it more efficient to conduct research, and actually try and make that take-up of sort of new medications and new treatments a lot quicker. So that's what we're tasked with. Now, we are a weird body in terms of the NIHR. My boss, Sally, who you'll see later on, calls it an interdigitated organization. Extramural and intramural for those Latin students around here. Basically, we commission 5 big centres who then commission research on our behalf. And they sit in either academic centres, one in the government chemist, laboratory of the chemist, one in an NHS trust. So we have quite a different set of configurations. We have people spread around the country. We work in a very disparate way. One of the challenges we had was a technology platform which, quite frankly, was old, very difficult to upgrade, going to take a long time, a lot of effort, and we needed to make a major sort of phase shift in what we were doing. So that sort of gives you the spread of various organizations around the country. You can see London has a big blob of people in it. It always does. This is what we call the Golden Triangle, from here, here, to here. And that's because of the university sectors and how many people we employ in that area. And that's where a lot of research goes on. But actually, one of the things we need to do is spread that across the country, because we have to look at this in a very different way. So we've got all of those groups of people. They're all on different platforms, all different email systems. They all have different ways of acting with technology. Some have good technology, some have poor technology. And what we wanted to do is put all of this on a common platform, because actually that's the IP, that's the intellectual property we can work with to help both our infrastructure, researchers, and the sort of the whole of the NHS work in this way. So we took a really important principle here, and for those of you who know the sort of Cabinet Office pushing towards, very much around off-the-shelf, software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and we worked these basic principles that we really wanted to put in place. So cloud first, very important to us now as a mechanism for dealing with what we're doing. We needed it to be out of the box. We had, I don't know if you have the same problem as we had, but people building their own little apps somewhere on technology which you have no idea what they're doing with. And then all of a sudden you come and find out you're going to change something and you're going to actually undermine a major business process all of a sudden. Don't know how it happens, it just happens by osmosis by most of the time. And we wanted to stop that because actually it was costing us a lot of money. We wanted to make sure there was minimal training and people could just use this stuff they use at home, stuff they understand. And of course, what we really wanted is more collaboration. That was quite crucial to how we wanted to operate. We wanted to be able to, somebody sitting up in Newcastle being able to collaborate with somebody down in London. I don't know if you've ever used the Google sort of apps in terms of doing a document. Now, as a civil servant, we do lots of documents, but to be able to be in the same document as a colleague of mine, and we're both editing it at the same time, that was so cool to me. Because normally when you do something in the department, you send it around on email and it goes around this long email thread and you take years to get a response back, and then somebody comes in because they haven't seen it and it takes another 20 minutes to try and sort out what they say, and then somebody else 5 days later says, oh, I didn't see this. So getting people online using things like Hangouts, using a whole raft of the technology suite we have, has made a huge difference to our process. So we bought this through GCloud. It was a £20 million contract over 5 years. We work with PA Consulting, who are our sort of main partner in this, and they've been working with Google. And the principle was that we went through the GCloud. We wanted to use GCloud technology, and that was sort of the model we put in place. And then what we did is, okay, well, we got this old burning platform. It's an old SharePoint platform. And what we needed to do is move it. We couldn't upgrade it because we were so out of kilter in terms of the patching and all the rest of the things. And we needed to then move very quickly into a position of trying to work out, well, what are the key features we as an organization, as a business, want to have? And we kind of came up with these 10 items here, which are really a motherhood and apple pie stuff, but they're quite important. And people get these when they see what they're trying to do and select from the sort of structures we're working in. So we then went through a whole process and of selection. We did look at other products. And we started at this end, with all these sort of things. We've got 200 sites, 11 million files. We looked at around about 8 products, and then we got down to 2. And then we did an evaluation process to work out which was the best tool to do the job. And we did this with our users. Very important, 150 users. Now, we bought 10,000 licenses. That's the sort of size we're working to. We're currently at the sort of threshold of implementing 2,000 of those users. And those are the core users for our infrastructure. They're the people we commission on a daily basis. The reason we need 10,000 is we want the research community to use this technology platform to collaborate. And that's why we needed to buy at scale so they can start to do that. And bearing in mind, we are spending £1 billion on commissioning research, and then you've got what the sort of private industry is doing, and you've got what the third sector are doing. We want all of those researchers to collaborate in a meaningful way and get faster and quicker at getting to innovation. So it's important for us to get this right. We then got the contracts, and then we're currently in a phase of deployment. By the end of June, it's about 2,500, something like that, users, who will be on the platform using all the tools across the country, whether they're in the academic sector, whether they're in the NHS, or whether they are collaborators from industry. So that's the sort of scale of operation we're working through. Great graphics, not designed by us, thank goodness. These are the sort of things we wanted to, the sort of 4 big values we're trying to get out of it. So we wanted something that was simple and intuitive to use, a web browser technology. Great idea. That's the simplest starting point for us. We wanted it to be secure. And we have implemented Cloud Lock on top of Google, and that's quite important. And just be clear, we do not put patient data on this platform. That's not what this platform is designed. It's a business platform. And that's a very, very important message to take away from here. We also wanted it to be reliable. The previous platform, if you could log in, you were doing well. If you could then do something, you were doing better than everybody else. And the stats were just appalling. We had 2,000 users. We had 8,000 registered users. We had about 450 real users, because it was just so difficult to get in and do things. We have none of that problem. That's what reliability we needed. We needed that constant reliability, always on position. And I didn't want to have to pay massive amounts of money for it. The value chain for us is this is a third of the price of the old platform. That's how impressive the sort of the numbers work. And then we wanted accessible. So who's got a government phone here? How many personalities do you have on that phone? Oh, sorry, we don't do personalities on phones, do we? Damn, when's that technology going to come on? And talking about the sort of 6 screens earlier, we do live in a 6-screen world. I have my personal life, I have my professional life, and I have 2 personas there. I have an academic account, I have a government account, and I'm going to get another one fairly soon. So you need to be able to access your technology in the right way. So we have methods of doing that. I now bring my own devices all the time because it's actually easier for me to do that, to hit in various things. So we needed it to be very accessible. So what are the benefits for us? So the reality is we've got this huge research infrastructure. We've got loads of people around the country working with us. What we wanted to do is go from this, which was this amorphous mass of orbs in a constellation, as you might want to call it, to what we really needed was a cohesive business process for doing collaboration and for delivering our core business, which is research. And that's what we're getting to very quickly. You're going to hear from my boss, Chief Medical Officer. She's got an iPad. My God, that's transformational for her. She does all her work on it now, and she sees lots of things which she would never have done before. And then you're going to hear from a couple of my colleagues who've been doing a lot of the implementation work with PA, and then you're going to hear from a user who has just embraced this in a very different way. It has changed the way we have done a lot of our business very, very quickly. And that's probably me. I think it's the cue for the video now, and that'll come up. Let me move out of the way.
The NIHR Hub is now live. It's based on Google technology and the data's in the cloud. This is absolutely congruent with government policy, but more importantly, it's safe, secure, and should make it easier.
The department approached PA Consulting to help us with the problems we were encountering, and they recommended the Google Apps approach. We are looking for ways to make the NIHR faster, better and smarter, and the tools within Google gave us that possibility that allow us to work in a more secure way, that allow us to work in a better way, and give the users that better experience. So the team from PA Consulting really gave us that in-depth expert knowledge we needed to help us with that particular part of the work.
When the Department of Health approached PA Consulting, it was immediately apparent to me that this would be no ordinary assignment. We needed to find a cloud solution which would meet the needs of NIHR's highly disparate organisation. The NIHR had used Microsoft SharePoint 2007 for several years with limited success, and users were falling back on email for collaboration. Google Apps was an obvious choice, and Google Plus adds great, easy-to-use enterprise social features like communities and Hangouts that really transform the way that NIHR people work together.
As a SharePoint site administrator, I found it often difficult to ensure that users had the correct permissions to sites, lists and libraries. Information was also kept in silos on the different sites and subsites, which often had unique permissions, so it was difficult for users to also see what information could potentially be of use to them. With the new Google NIHR Hub, we found it much easier to share information, to share documents and to collaborate online. I found that in some of the communities I've joined, I've been talking to colleagues that I didn't know existed.
I'm really excited about this because we've had this dream of simplicity, everything brought together on one platform, accessible remotely, ever since the beginning of NIHR in 2006. And now hard work and modern technology have made it possible to produce this.
So that's my boss. She's a big fan of this and uses it on a regular basis. And it has transformed the way we think about our business and how we operate. And I think that's quite crucial. One of the challenges Tom was saying earlier about busting bureaucracy. About 7 years ago, we created a strategy for research in the UK, and particularly in England, because that's our remit. And one of the things that was said is we need to bust bureaucracy. And actually, this is one of the most important steps we've taken in that model of dealing with things. And by creating this environment, we've created collaboration which has not happened before. It's been hard, it's been a slog to get things produced and out and into the most important part of our job, making the world better for patients particularly. So they get faster access to novel treatments, so they get better outcomes. We understand the research we're dealing with, and we're publishing that research a lot quicker through this mechanism. So I think that's really important for us to understand, and I'm going to leave it there. So thank you very much.